So we're going to do a will guide. Yeah, so we're going to watch the pattern guide, and then we're going to go over a run that I did myself so I could just explain things as it happens. Okay, so Will has a lot of HP. Just know that if you could solo hard Lucid, you can solo hard Will. So if you're at the point where you're like, oh, let's go, I solo Lucid, you could do Will. It just takes practice. Will's actually easier to solo than Lucid. Okay, so phase 1 has a 760 Arcane Force requirement. If you want the 1.5x maximum damage on Will, you need 1140 Arcane Force. Will has 3 different health bars, right? It is a little bit confusing. Phase 1 is the most confusing part, but it just gets easier and easier after this to understand. But mechanically, phase 1 is the easiest part mechanically, but in terms of understanding phase 1, it's the most complicated part. It has 3 different health bars, right? It's very unique. At this point in the game, there's no boss like Will. There's no boss like Will at this point in the game. So there's the red bar, which is his actual like true HP. There's the blue bar, and there's this gray bar. This gray bar is actually purple, but there's 2 different dimensions. There's the blue dimension, which we're viewing right now, and then there's a purple dimension, which we would have to change and go into to deal damage to that side as well. And it is a little complicated, but it'll make sense as we progress in the video. So you can see how there's a blue one and a purple one. They're the exact same dimensions, like same mechanics and everything. One's just purple, one's just blue, and they have their own separate HP bars. And you need to get those HP bars down to the same amount. So let's say you're stuck in blue side the whole entire time, and you're just DPSing blue, and you don't touch purple. That means by the time when the test happens, we haven't talked about the test, but when the test happens, he's going to heal back up all the way to what purple is. Or whichever side is higher. So like if you're stuck in purple and you get purple down like 50% and blue's still full health, by the time the test happens, he'll heal back to the higher side. But that'll make more sense a bit later. So how do you switch between sides, right? When you enter Will, there's going to be a yellow circle, and that yellow circle is your moonlight. And that moonlight goes up and down depending on if you get hit. If you get hit by a lot of things, it'll freeze your moonlight gain or sometimes even take away from your moonlight. But if you dodge stuff, then you'll gain moonlight, and you need to get the moonlight at least halfway on the gauge and then press interact so you can switch it in between dimensions. So let's say I'm standing in blue and I press my moonlight, I have enough, I'll be sent to the purple dimension and I can start hitting the purple HP instead of the blue one. So he's going to show an example. Like he presses his moonlight, you gain this like yellow shield around you, which makes you invincible for like 3 seconds. And then he entered the purple dimension, and you can see that the HP bar changed to purple instead of blue. He swapped back, so now it's blue. So spatial disruption, this is the test that happens every 2 minutes, and to be exact, it happens every even minute on the clock and 50 seconds. What does that mean? Like even and 50 seconds. So if we just Google a timer here, so every even minute and 50 seconds, so 28 is an even number, right? And then 50 seconds. So the next time a test would happen would be 2650, 24, 22, 20, 18, and so on. Like there'll never be a test at 1950 or 2150. It'll always be at the even minute on the clock and 50 seconds on the clock. At 50 seconds on the clock. Sometimes the test can lag and start at like 49 seconds or 48 seconds, but it's always at the even minute. And when you enter a boss, it starts at 30. So the first test would be at 2150, right? A minute and 10 seconds from when you enter. So like, because this guide says every 2 minutes. No, it's not exactly 2 minutes. It's every even minute on the clock and 50 seconds. And what happens during the test, you're going to see a banner that appears that's either going to tell you that you need to switch to the other side, or you're going to see a eyeball that appears in the middle of the map that's going to tell you that you're in the correct room. So if you're in a room, yeah, so this is how, okay, so let's take it back a second. So if you're in the wrong room, this is what happens. You die, right? The map becomes webbed and you instantly die. And if you die, you fail the test. Everybody fails. Even if one person in your party dies during test, everybody fails the test and you all get delayed another 2 minutes until the next test happens. Because to get to the next threshold of the HP, if you remember, there's 3 segments, 1, 2, and 3. If you want to get to be able to do damage to the second segment, you need to pass the test. And if you fail, like I explained earlier, you need to wait until the next even minute and 50 seconds to try again for the next test. And if you want to pass the test correctly, this is what you're going to have to look out for. So it's very important to not be in... If you're soloing, then you're going to look out for the banner that tells you if you're in the wrong room or not. But if you're in a party, you want some members on one side and you want some members on the other side so they could call out which room you're supposed to be in. So around 28:50, when the first test begins, you're going to see an eye pop up in one of the rooms, whether it's in blue or it's in purple. And if it's in purple, then, you know, you would want to go to purple if you're in blue. And if it's in blue, you'd want to go to blue if you're in purple. Nowadays, because this video is a little bit old, nowadays there will be a banner that shows up if you're in the wrong room. That'll tell you need to switch to the other room at the even minute 50 seconds. But if you're in the correct room, all you have to do is stay in here and you're safe. You're not going to die. You just have to stay in purple the entire time. See, blue, everyone in blue dies, but everyone in purple is safe. Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, but how his HP bar works. So every single time the test happens, he heals back to whichever side has higher health. So let's say by 28:50 on the clock, you don't manage to bring both sides down to the threshold. Let's say you only bring it down like 50%. So purple is on 50% and blue is on like 20%, right? So you don't manage to make it all the way on both sides, and then test happens. That means he's going to heal back on both HP bars to 50%. So that within the next 2-minute interval, you have to get them both down all the way. He always heals back to whichever side has higher. But if you manage to get it all the way down, he can't heal back because both of them are at 0. And then you get the second test that shows up. This is a perfect example. Oh my god, I actually like almost called these numbers perfectly. So let's say the test happens at 28:50 and this is where your HP bar is at, right? Purple's at like 50%, blue is like at 33%, and test happens. That means blue is going to heal back up to 50%. And then you have to get both sides down all the way. So that's why it's very, very important to whittle them down at the same rate instead of just going from 100 to 0 on blue and then switching, then 100 to 0 on purple. You want to get them down together. Unless you're super strong, then you could do 100 to 0 on both. See how it healed after test? Yeah, so this is the second test. So let's say next test occurs, right? Let's say 26:50, which is the second test timing, and you got them both down to the threshold HP. Now he can't heal because there's no higher bar to heal from. There's nothing to heal. You get the second part of the test. So the same test is going to happen at 26:50, where you have to stay in the correct room with the eye. And if you're in that correct room, you know, that whole screen shattering is going to happen again, and the webbing and stuff like that. But this time, everybody's going to be teleported to a different room. And in that different room, there's going to be a blue and a purple side again. You can't switch between sides. So half your party's going to be in blue, half your party's going to be in purple. If you're solo, it doesn't matter. There's going to be this eye in the middle. Now, what this eye does is you have to hit this thing. And if you hit this thing, I mean, it'll show soon. Okay, we'll explain that in a second. Yeah, so let's say you're in your party and you're in the purple side, right? If you hit this thing, that means on the other side in blue, meteors are going to be falling. The red ones will hurt you a lot, and if you take 2 of them, I think you die. And the yellow ones won't hurt you at all, and you're supposed to catch the yellow one. All you have to do is catch it once. If you catch a yellow one once, it'll create the shield around the eyes, and then everybody has to stay in the eyes the whole time and not die. And you will have passed the second test, the second part of the test. So for example, let's say this is you in blue, and your party's been attacking purple and you want to catch this ball, right? You catch the yellow ball, the barrier forms on each side. You only have to catch one ball on either side. Only one person has to catch it. And now you're good. All you have to do is wait for the second test to end, but you have to be standing in the middle. And if anybody dies at all in this process, the entire test is failed, and you have to wait until the next interval for when the test begins again. So the next even minute, 50 seconds. Yeah, and then everybody gets sent to blue dimension, all 6 of you. And how it works, if you saw earlier, if nobody catches this, you have 20 seconds to do this entire process, by the way. And if nobody catches it, you all die. Yeah, you all die. So like, let's say you pass the first test, and then you're trying to do this like catching part, and nobody catches anything, nobody hits anything, everybody's like confused. You all die and you fail the test. Yeah, no one should be dying during this. You'll have to wait another 2 whole ass minutes. Yeah, you can iframe through it. Yeah, if you know the timing. So let's say you pass the test, right? The next threshold of HP unlocks, right? It's not blocked off anymore. And now you can do what you did in the first segment all over again. You have to get both HP bars down, and then you have to wait for the next test. But Will will be stunned for 10 seconds if you complete the test. So it's free damage on him for 10 seconds. You basically like self-binds himself. So he's stunned for 10 seconds, and then you could bind him again after that if you need it. Darkseid dodges the meteors, yeah. Yeah, so just to summarize this entire test process, you get both HP bars down to the threshold, and then at even minute 50 seconds, an eye will spawn in either room, blue or purple. Shell, like Bishop's Shell, also shields you from the death. And like Kana's pink barrier, for example. Yeah, so an eye will spawn in either one of the rooms. You know, blue tells purple to come over because everybody needs to be in blue. Everybody in purple dies. Hopefully no one's there still. Then the party gets split in 2, back into purple and blue. And then you have to hit the thing in the middle so that a yellow ball can spawn, right? Somebody has to catch the yellow ball. Make sure you don't get hit by the purple one, or the red ball. Once you catch the yellow one, everybody has to stand within the shield, and you just have to wait out the test. And then if you did it correctly, you won't die. And the next threshold of HP is unlocked, and then you repeat the process. You get both HP bars down to the threshold. You do the whole test again. You pass the test. Then third segment, you get both HP bars down to the threshold. Wait for the test. Pass the test, and then you could enter phase 2. And this is the most important thing of understanding how P1 works, because you will never pass P1 if you don't get how the test works. So now we're going to go over like all the different attacks that Will has that you're going to have to dodge in phase 1, because the test is just how you proceed, but now you have to actually like dodge the attacks and not die in the process. So Will has these legs that spawn periodically. They'll be spawning pretty much the entire phase, and they do a decent amount of damage. It's not too much to a point that you have to like dodge it every single time. But something to note with the legs that's very important is the legs pretty much don't spawn in the same spot twice in a row. So let's say a leg hits right here. The next wave of legs isn't going to hit right here. It's going to be somewhere else. It does 20% HP, and it halts you from gaining Moonlight. If you remember at the beginning, I said you need to dodge things to get Moonlight gained, and you need Moonlight to switch dimensions. If you get hit by the legs, it stops your HP from being gained. Not your HP, your Moonlight from being gained. So these are very, very dangerous, these red eyes. These red eyes shoot out 5 red balls in like, you know, like a pentagon pattern. But the issue with these red balls, it doesn't do too much damage, is that it takes away from your Moonlight. Not only does it stop you from gaining Moonlight, it makes you go negative. Like you can lose Moonlight if you get hit by this, so it's very important to dodge these red balls. Yeah, it only deals 10%, but it reduces your moonlight gains. Like the legs just freeze it from going up, but this one actually reduces it. So Will himself has a bunch of attacks. You know, he has his like little smacks and stuff that deal like 20%. It's very important in P1 to generally stay behind him. If you stay behind him, you'll dodge all of his attacks. Yeah, so this is the important one to dodge. He has a super push, so that will 100% push you. You have to watch his arm. It's very important to watch his eyes and watch his arm, because when he does when he like cranks back, he's gonna do the big push, and the big push, you know, it's gonna displace you, and you're reverse keyed as well, so you'll get actually like confused if you get hit by this. Now this is his most important attack, is the tornado, as everyone calls it. He closes his eyes, so this is why you want to watch his eyes, and he shoots a tornado, and the tornado does 90%. And you know, if the balls are flying around and the legs are hitting, like 90%, it's basically a one shot, because all the other things will clean up and kill you. So you really want to make sure you're behind him. He spawns a tornado. This thing's hitbox is a lot fatter than it looks like. You want to look at the bottom, like how it's like smoking like up to here and here. Like that's the hitbox. It's a much bigger hitbox than what it looks like. And it does 90%, and it basically you can jump over it, but you have to be at the max height. And yeah, obviously you can iframe it. And if you're just behind him, like it won't hit you. But this thing's hitbox does start from where he's at. So for example, like it comes out over here, but if you're standing on top of him, the hitbox starts right here on top of him. So you gotta like actually be behind him. You can't just be on top of him. You have to be behind him. Yeah, so Will also moves around. He moves around a little bit, and he teleports every like 3 or so attacks. And he teleports to a player. So a really, really bad position to be in this boss is the corners. You don't want to be in the corners. You want to be towards the middle. You want to be towards the middle and alternate sides between him. If you're in the corner and he TPs to the corner and he does a tornado and it swipes the whole map, you're trolling. You want him to do tornado so it only swipes half the map instead of the whole entire map if he's in the corner. Yeah, Dark makes up a good point. If you have Moonlight and you're in a pinch and you don't know how to like escape whatever's going to happen, just use your Moonlight so you could switch dimensions. Because switching dimensions, there's different patterns happening there. And you're invulnerable for 3 seconds anyways. Yeah, so these are the blue balls. These blue balls, like, they're like heat seeking, like they follow you. And they do a lot of damage. Like if you get hit by all 4 of them, they actually do a lot of damage. And they also halt your Moonlight gain. Yeah, so if they actually like come in contact with you, it's 30% HP, which is a lot. And if they just explode near you, it's 20%. The way to dodge these is you have to use some sort of movement skill to go through them. If you can go through them like with a dash, it's harder for TP classes, by the way. If you can go through them with like a dash or a flash jump, it'll pop the balls and you won't take any damage. So you always want to be moving around. Yeah, and then every once in a while, after a little bit, you get TP to the other room randomly. Can Buck super jump through them? Yeah, it can. You don't even need to do anything that crazy. You could just like dash, like regular dash through them, or just like flash jump. But yeah, once you pass the test 3 times, you can enter phase 2. So that's P1. P1 is complicated, but it's the easiest one in terms of mechanics. Mechanically, it's the easiest one. But in terms of understanding, it's the hardest to understand. Now, phase 2, a lot of people struggle in phase 2 because phase 2, you can't heal at all. Like, you can't heal. The only way you can heal is if you use your Moonlight. And Moonlight across the board works the same way in every single phase. If you get hit, your moonlight gets either reduced or paused. And if you dodge stuff, your moonlight goes up. So you have to use your moonlight to heal. It unlocks your potion. Your potions are all locked. Or if you're on a server that has healing familiars will heal you regardless of the healing lock. So put on your heal fams if you have them. Or bod. Okay, so P2 works a little differently, where the map is kind of split, like top half and bottom half. The bottom half is the mirror reflection, and there could be different patterns that happen in the mirror that you don't see in like the real world that are happening under you that you have to be aware of. Okay, so same thing as P1, the legs spawn. But notice how the legs spawn also in the mirror dimension. So not only do you have to dodge the legs that are, you know, happening in like reality, you have to dodge the legs that are under you too. They work the same way. And it's the same thing. The legs don't spawn in the same spot twice. So if a leg spawns in here, it's not gonna, if you get hit right here, you're not gonna get hit again right there. The red balls, same thing. Red balls in 5 directions, and if you get hit, it deals damage and takes away from your moonlight. And keep in mind, you can't heal unless you have healing familiars or you use your moonlight. So it's very important to have moonlight in this phase. People often die in this phase a lot. Same thing. Same thing. The blue balls spawn and everything. And you gotta move around to pop them so you don't take damage. Yeah, you can get 2 potions off within 1 moonlight. If you use your moonlight and you potion right away, you can heal. And then towards the end of your moonlight cast, you can heal again. So you could use two potions per moonlight if you press the potion right away. If you use your moonlight and then you wait like a couple seconds then potion, you can't use another one. Yeah, so like I mentioned, you can't heal. You have to use your moonlight to heal. So if you use moonlight, same thing. You need to be at the halfway point. It'll unlock your potion, then you can heal. So it's very, very important to dodge things in this phase. Or if you have healing familiars, it bypasses that entire mechanic and heals you regardless. So similarly in P1, P1 had 3 segments. P2 has 2 segments. And there's no alternating dimensions. There's no blue or purple. It's just the first half of his health and the second half of his health. Yeah, so that means there's going to be 2 tests that happen. And the test is different. There's going to be two tests that happen. The test for this first half and then the test at the end. Yeah, so the first test happens once you reach the middle point. Once you reach the threshold, the test immediately happens right away. So you have to be quick and react to it. Now, what is the test, right? What is the test for phase 2? Yeah, so during the test period, during the test window, the legs do 90% of your HP instead of the old 10% or 20% what it was. It does 90%. So the legs pretty much one-shot you if you get hit by them. And if you die during the test, you fail the test and you have to wait till the next one. So this test works, the legs work in 2 ways. If the floor is cracked, you get hit by the legs on purpose, and that's how you pass the test. If the floor is not cracked, like right now it's not cracked at all, there's no cracks on the floor, it's just a clean mirror, you do not want to get hit by the legs. See how it's cracked right now? Since the floor is cracked, now you want to get hit by the legs. So, so you can survive. Can you show us your crack? No. See how he's moving to be next to where the legs are, or on top of the legs, so that he can get hit by them. You can get hit by the legs that spawn in the mirror dimension too. And that's it. That's all you have to do, is you just have to keep doing that until you pass the test. Now, there's more details to the test that he didn't go over. And I can show you here. Okay, so you can see he's bursting, right? And his HP is about to hit the middle. As soon as he hits the halfway point right here, the test begins. A banner spawns, and you have to watch out for the floor. You want to see if the floor is cracked or not. So the floor is not cracked right now, right? So he doesn't get hit by the legs at all. These legs are spawning, and he doesn't get hit by the legs. Now, the thing with the test is there's going to be 5 sets of 3 leg hits. So what do I mean by that, right? So test begins, right? So since there's going to be 5 sets of 3 leg hits, you need to watch how many times the legs are spawning in. So this is the first time, right? You see the pattern with these little like sparklies. So that's 1, right? 2, 3. So that's the first set, right? That's the first set of the 5 done. So now we have to count to the second set. So this is the second set. 1, 2, 3. And that's the second set completed. So now we're going to go for the third set of 3 legs. And the floor changed to cracked, right? So it's now, since the floor changed to cracked, you can see that this person is going to try and move towards where the legs are going to spawn, right? Because they have to get hit now, because you have to get hit by the legs when it's cracked. So now it's 1, 2, 3. So that's the third set. The floor is still cracked, so they're going to want to keep getting hit by the legs, right? So this is the fourth set. 1, 2, 3, right? And now there's one more set, the 5th set of 3 legs. The floor is not cracked, so you don't get hit. 1, 2, 3. And then once you complete the 5th set, he gets stunned for 10 seconds. The HP bar gets unlocked, and you could start attacking the second segment, and then you would have to wait until the next test starts again. So there's a few things to keep in mind during the test. The pattern that the legs spawn isn't random. It's the same time. It's the same pattern every single time. So if we go back to when he's about to phase it, right? He's about to phase it and start in the middle, right? As soon as the HP bar gets in the middle, the test begins, right? So back to this is the first set of 3 legs, right? The legs always spawn ahead of the previous leg. So the first leg always spawns where this crystal is. You see this crystal in the background? This like blue crystal thing. The first leg always spawns around here. Always. So you can see the pattern. It's right here, right? This is the first leg, 1. And then the second leg and the third leg always is ahead of the previous leg. So since the first leg spawned here, the second one is going to spawn here. You see the pattern right here? Second leg. And then the third leg will spawn over here. It always happens right after. Like it always happens right after. Like they always are positioned in front of the previous leg. It could be from the bottom as well. It doesn't have to be from the top. It could be from the bottom. But they're positioned always 1, 2, 3 every single time. And then it resets back to the beginning. See? Next set. 1, 2, 3. Right? And even when you have to get hit, it's 1, 2, 3, and then back to the left, and then 1, 2, 3, back to the left, 1, 2, 3. Always. It's always that pattern every single time. And yeah, 1, 2, 3, a million. Yeah, true. So another thing to keep in mind for how test works is test always is 2 minutes. Test starts always 2 minutes from when you first got to the first test. So this person hit the first test at 20 minutes on the clock, 39 seconds, right? You see the banner shows up. Now the next test will happen at 18 minutes and 39 seconds. Always. It's always 2 minutes. Give or take, a second or two in case it's lagging. And yeah, they don't mention that in the pattern guide, but yeah, it's always 2 minutes from when you hit the first threshold. Right? So 2039, right? So he passes the test and he's going to keep DPSing it. So if he was stronger, the test would have happened right here if he hit the threshold. But this is a good example of what happens even if you're not strong enough, right? So test should have happened now because he started at 2039. Now he's at 1839, right? Since he didn't get to the next threshold, the test will begin as soon as he gets to the next threshold. Like now, since he went over 2 minutes, it'll begin as soon as he gets to this point immediately. But if he was stronger, and let's say at 1844, right, which is less than 2 minutes, let's say it was already here, Will will just have 0 HP, and then once it reaches 1839 on the clock, it would start test. The guide didn't show the webs in the pattern guide, but these webs spawn in the corners. They usually don't spawn during test, but they can spawn during test. And if you walk on top of these legs, if you walk on top of these webs, you instantly die. Unless you're in dark sight. Unless you're in dark sight or iframed, you won't die. But it's annoying. So like it kind of prevents you from hiding in the corner. You see how these webs spawn? He's going to try to be away from the corners. He doesn't want to be in these corners because it'll just kill him if he's there. So as soon as he reaches 0 HP, the test begins immediately, right? Even though it's been over 2 minutes. So Will has a bunch of attacks himself. He has his usual pushes, same as P1. And he has this super push you want to watch out for. You want to like watch his head and his arm. When he cranks back like that, he's going to do the super push. And this is very dangerous in P2 because there could be webs in the corners. And if he pushes you into a web, you instantly die. Now, Will also has fake attacks. And this is why you have to watch the mirror. Because the mirror will tell you what his actual attack is. So you want to watch what he's doing. So he could be facing left, but his mirror attacks right. So you want to be watching the mirror. Now, this doesn't work all the time in a party because his aggro is on different people. But in solo, you always want to be watching the mirror. Yeah, he could also super knock back with the mirror version. Yeah, he has his dashes that also do damage. Just him dashing does damage as well. This is very dangerous, the spider. So he summons a spider that is only in the mirror dimension, and you have to jump over it. If you're on the floor as this is coming towards you, it does a lot of damage. You have to jump over it. Okay, so now he mentions the webs. So the webs spawn in the corners. These can happen during tests, so you have to be very, very careful. Very unlikely to happen during tests, but it can happen. Yeah, so obviously it doesn't one-shot you in normal, but in hard it one-shots you. Yeah, and that's it. As long as you pass the test in phase 2, you can enter phase 3. Now, phase 3 is very easy to understand, but it's the hardest one to do mechanically. He gets really angry. It's scary, guys. Dude, he's pissed. Okay, so phase 3, you're going to notice that there's webs around the map, right? And as the phase progresses, the webs slowly fill in the map more and more and more and more. And you want to get rid of the webs. Now, how do you get rid of the webs? Yeah, it's random. Every 6 seconds, 1 to 2 webs will appear. So sometimes it'll be 1 web in some runs, and sometimes it'll be 2 webs in some runs. So, you can get lucky and it'll be 1 web and it's twice as easy. And if the web touches you, you take damage. You're skill locked for 5 seconds. You can Hero's Will it. And you can't gain any Moonlight. So touching a web is almost guaranteed death. It's pretty bad. Now, how do you get rid of the webs? This is where the Moonlight comes in. So Moonlight in phase 3 works just like everything else. You dodge stuff, you gain Moonlight. And once you reach like the halfway point, you can use Moonlight and you can cleanse 2 webs per Moonlight use. Right, so he uses it and then the webs go away. Yep, so if webs fill up the entire map, like your ass, and you don't fucking use your Moonlight, and the whole map fills up, it's pretty much a GG. Do I still need to use Moonlight to potion? Very, very good question, Mr. Just Pally GMS. No, this is not like phase 2. In phase 2, you can still heal normally with potions and everything. You don't need to use Moonlight to heal. The Moonlight is only used for cleansing webs. Okay, so same thing. Legs spawn in phase 3. Same thing. Red balls spawn. Red balls take away from your Moonlight. A lot of the patterns are all the same. There are no tests in P3. It's just mano di mano, as they say. Yeah, blue balls, same thing. Phase 3 HP is not split and there's no tests. So let's go over some of Will's attacks. His attacks are pretty dangerous. Before they were kind of just like whatever, but his attacks in this phase are very dangerous. So there's regular like basic ass hits that deal 20%. So Will turns into a spider this phase. He goes full spider mode. He has his super knockback, and the indication for this one is the spider cranks back. You can see the spider cranks back, and he's gonna push you. Now, the super knockback is especially dangerous in this phase because if you remember, there's webs in the corner in the borders of the map, and if you get pushed into the web, you're skill locked, and you have to use your Moonlight to cleanse it. So it is very, very, very important to not get hit by the super push. Now, similarly to all the other phases, I recommend standing behind him in this phase. If you stand behind him, you can't get pushed. So constantly alternate sides. Always be behind him. Bishop dispel the skill lock? I don't think so. Can I up jump to push like Lotus? You can up jump to push like Lotus, but there's webs in the ceiling, so you'll get skill locked anyways. So Will also does poison every so often. And poison goes to a random player. Obviously, if you're solo, you'll get the poison. And what poison does is it gives you a 30% final damage increase. So he's buffing you. It says 100% because it's outdated. It gives you a 30% final damage increase. But your health goes down. It starts ticking down. You'll be taking damage unless you're hitting him. If you're hitting him the entire time, you won't take any damage. And you'll be stronger. But if you're just not doing anything and you're poisoned, you'll die pretty quickly. And you hurt people around you. You hurt people around you, so everybody has to stay away from you when you're poisoned. It's like you have the cheese touch. And if you die while you're poisoned, the area that you died becomes poisoned, and anybody who enters that area takes a lot of damage. Yeah, if a host doesn't attack Will within 7 seconds, he dies. So you want to make sure you're attacking him or you die. And you hurt other people's around you. Other people. Yeah, so this person died, right? That area becomes poisoned. And if anybody stands there, they take damage. And since he died, the poison gets transferred to somebody else randomly. How often is poison? I believe he does poison every 25 seconds. Or 30 seconds, depending on lag. I believe it's 30. Okay, it's 30. I'll take your word for it. I still got it right. I'm not wrong. Anyways, so he does. These are the two main attacks. They're called white and yellow, or move/stay. That's what people usually call them. And you need to recognize the indicators for this attack, because these two attacks are very, very dangerous. They're like core for P3 dodging. So this is white, right? He turns into the big spider and his eyes are white. You can see the spider eyes are white. And he also cranks back like really high in the air. Like the spider gets like really tall. That means it's the white one. You have to be moving. If you're not moving while this happens, if you just stand still, you get one-shotted. So you see how this person's not moving? There's one point in the map where it's a one-shot. Yeah, so you can either look at his eyes, or you can look at how he's arching back, or like how this leg is, there's only one leg being lifted from the ground. Like, these are all indicators to tell you that this is white and you have to move out of the way. You have to be moving. This one shot is affected by ping. So if you're a high ping player, it's not going to happen as soon as he stomps down. It'll happen like a couple seconds after. So this is the other pattern. This is yellow. You can clearly see his face is yellow. And there's two legs being lifted from the ground. And yellow is the opposite of white in this case, and you have to stand still. If you're moving around, you'll die, but you have to just stand still. You have to stay where you are. So you see how all the other spots in the map become, you know, destroyed except your spot. And it's instance. Like, let's say your party member is here, he doesn't have to stand where you are. Like, he has his own safe spot. Yeah, so two legs in the air and yellow eyes. And that's it. That's all his patterns. And then if you could just dodge that stuff, you clear. As long as you're hitting him and you don't die out, you clear will. So what does he drop? He drops his will droplets, and you need these to craft, you know, shoulders and shit. Soul shards. Garbage item, you get occult cubes on reboot. He can drop arcane boxes. You could choose what armor you want and a weapon. He also drops the spell book. You could choose what book you want. And mirror world nodestone, so a true arachnid reflection. For hard mode only. Yeah, so let's talk about some tips for P1, right? I'm doing this will right now. Will run. I'm not going to DPS. I'm just going to show you like where to dodge things. So I'm going to be standing like behind him generally. And try to dodge as much as I can just so my moonlight fills up. This is what I'm doing in P1. P1, you generally want to stand in the middle-ish area. You never want to go to the corners. You want to be in the middle-ish area just so you can alternate sides. So he's going to show tornado there. So I'm going to just stay behind him. I'm staying behind him. And I'm using my peripheral vision to dodge the legs and the red balls and stuff like that. As long as you could do that, like, you'll be fine. So I have enough moonlight that I could swap, right? So I press interact, like, you know, it makes me swap. And I'm invulnerable for a few seconds. As if I'm in the corner, he could TP to you in the corner and then NATO the whole entire dimension. Okay, so it's in blue right now, right? So since I'm in blue, we're in the right side and we're safe. So now somebody's hitting it on the other side and I have to catch a ball. So since the ball is caught, we just have to stay in the middle, and that's it. The test is complete. So now, since we completed the test, you know, he's gonna stun himself, and you can deal damage to him. You see how the blue side is taking damage, and now Phil switched, and the purple side has taken damage as well. So now we're just waiting for the next test interval. And if you remember what I said, the test intervals are at the even minute, 50 seconds. So we have to wait until 26:50 for the next test to start. So I'm just going to stay behind him, generally, and dodge things with my peripheral vision. And if you remember, the legs never spawn in the same spot twice in a row. So since they just spawn in the middle, I can Stay in the middle. So the legs, in a way, tell you what the safe spots are. You can use the legs to tell you what the safe spots are. So if I see the leg is going to spawn in the corner, like I could stand over here and I'll be safe. I see they spawn in the middle, I could stand over here and I'm safe. I see they spawn over there, I could stand over there. Now there is a small chance that the legs can spawn in the same direction twice in a row, but it pretty much never happens. Even 50, yeah. So it's 26 even minute. Now we gotta wait for 50, and then we're gonna start the test. So you see how I'm jumping through these blue balls as well? It pops them, and I don't take any damage. So I need to go to blue. I saw the banner pop up, but no eye. So I need to stay in blue. So somebody's gonna be hitting it on the other side, and I'm gonna have to catch a yellow ball. Make sure you don't get hit by the red balls or you die. And if you die, the entire test is failed, then you have to wait until the next even minute, 50 seconds for the test to begin again. And you just stall your entire party. Yeah, so same thing. We passed the test here. And, you know, he's injured.
So obvious. You can't escape. Awaken and feed.
Okay. Jump through the purple balls. Alright, and you can pop them. So this is generally how you want to play in P1. Like I said, you want to be behind him and use your peripheral vision to dodge stuff like the legs and stuff. If you're behind him, you dodge like most things. You dodge all his pushes, you dodge the tornado, you're not in like a bad position. So then all you have to worry about dodging, as long as you're behind him, all you have to worry about is dodging the heat-seeking blue balls and the legs and red balls with your peripheral vision. Like that's it. Like you just eliminate like half of the patterns just from being behind him. See, we're getting closer to the corner, and me and Dong Dong recognize that, and we go back to the middle so he could TP back towards the middle. So now it's 24 minutes on the clock. We have to watch out for the next test. It'll be at 50. So 24:50, banner pops up, and purple eye is here. So we need to stay in purple. So somebody's going to hit it on the other side, and then we need to catch... You catch this, and then we're good. And now that's it. That's P1 completed, just like that. You have 10 seconds from when this starts, and then P2 begins. So if you remember in P2, you can't heal, but somebody's probably going to have healing familiars that can heal us. But I'll show you how to play P2 as well. So P2, similarly to P1, you want to generally stay towards the middle-ish because the corner has webs that'll kill you and you'll get pushed. So, move this out of the way. You want to watch, stupid-ass Meester. Okay, you want to watch which way he's facing. Phil's strong enough to just like blow it up. And if someone's strong enough to blow it up, you want to watch for when this hits the middle and when it hits the middle so you know when the next test is. So we know, so it hit 23:31, so we know the next test is 2 minutes from that. And since it's since it's cracked, you want to get hit. That's the first wave of 5, right? So this is the second wave. 1, 2, 3. And remember, it always spawns over here and then following the previous web. So that's the third wave. So this is the fourth wave. 1, 2, and 3. You don't want to get hit. This is the final wave of 3. You want to get hit here because it's cracked. 1, 2, 3, and then you proceed. And now we know, since it was 2 minutes from when we first got to the middle, the next test will be at 21:31. But you know, Phil's strong enough that he's just gonna get it down to the threshold anyways, and it'll start the test as soon as 21:31 happens. So in P2, you generally want to be behind him. In a party, it's a little bit weird. You could either just stay your distance from him, but if you want to DPS him at the same time, you want to stay behind him. So you can see I'm baiting his attacks. I'm standing in front of him just long enough so that he can start his pattern, and then I jump behind him. You want to dodge things like the legs with your peripheral vision, and these red ball patterns, they usually don't hit the middle. So you can stand in the middle unless it's like this, like 1, 2, 3 pattern. And then you'd have to, fuck my life. You would have to position a little bit to the left or to the right. So basically there's like 3 spots you want to be in this phase. Either middle, a little bit to the left, or a little bit to the right. Those are like generally like the 3 spots you want to alternate in this phase. If you can alternate these 3 spots, like you'll pretty much dodge everything. See, like with this pattern, if I'm in the middle, I won't get hit by any red balls. See, now test started again because it was 21-31. So we immediately go to the left. We see that the first wave is don't get hit. So it's 1, 1, 2, 3. Second wave, don't get hit. It always starts here, and the second one and the third one always follow after the first one. So this is the third wave. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm not even going to be able to show off P3. Phil's just going to kill that shit instantly. Okay, it's all good. We can watch our VOD. 1, 2, and then 3. Yeah, so it's 10 seconds from when... Actually, no. So P2, you phase into P3 the next time you hit him. So you hit him, and then he phases. So you could actually stay in P2 as long as you want. But as long as you don't hit him. So phase 3 starts. A few things to watch out for as soon as phase 3 starts is if you get poison or if he does white. So since poison just began, you want to watch out where you are. Generally, you want to stay behind him. Since it's yellow, I stay in position. Since I'm poisoned right now, I want to keep hitting him or else I die. And since I have Moonlight, I'm going to press Moonlight and go jump into the webs, and I cleanse some of the webs. You see how some of them disappeared? Because I used my Moonlight. Yeah, so the boss is dead. And yeah, that's how you do well. And then you pray for book. Please give me the book. Please give me the book. And 2 drops. I'm not asking for too much.
Here we go.
Why don't I get anything? You know, just from that VOD, we can give some tips on that run. Like, you guys kind of had a better understanding of P1 and P2. I'll go over P2 again because it was kind of short, and P3 as well. So, oh shit, jump scare. He phases into P2, right? P2, you generally want to stay behind him. Like I was saying, you generally want to stay behind him. You want to stand in front of him just long enough so he starts his pattern, and then you dash behind him. So that you can bait out the pattern, and you could always get a guaranteed safe hits. You want to use your peripheral vision a lot to dodge things like the leg. So he clears the phase 2 first test here. Goes for, you know, some damage because he's stunned for 10 seconds once you complete test. And now Will, he's generally staying within the first, within those 3 regions I said. So this is like, the middle is like 1 region, and then a little bit to the left is 2, and then a little bit to the right is 3. And if you just alternate between like these 3 positions, you could pretty much dodge everything. Yeah, so he's just taking like a shit ton of damage here for no reason. He uses his Moonlight to heal. He's trying to DPS him. Like I said, he stands in front of him just long enough so that Will does that attack pattern in that way. But make sure he stays but then he goes behind him so he doesn't die. Okay, so, but yeah, P2 is pretty straightforward. As long as you're just behind him and you're alternating these 3 positions, you should be fine. But yeah, phase 3 is the most complicated part for most people. So we're going to go watch my phase 3 VOD and talk about it. So in phase 3, yeah, like I said, when you enter, there's 2 things you want to watch out for immediately when you enter. Is you want to watch out for if he's going to poison you right away or if he's going to do white right away. And the reason you want to watch out for these 2 things is because if he poisons you, you want to make sure you get off your burst immediately since poison gives you damage. Or if he does white, you want to make sure you're moving so you don't die right away. So I see that he poisons me right away as soon as I entered his little poison animation. So I react to it right away and I pop my buffs immediately because I know that, you know, I'm going to be buffed up right now. So it's actually very important. A few tips in P3 Will. It's actually very important to iframe as much as you can in P3 Will. Of course, if your class has an iframe. The reason being is it's free moonlight. It's free moonlight every single time you iframe. It's guaranteed moonlight regen. Whereas if you're not iframing or if you can't dodge well, your moonlight gain is halted by things that hit you. But if you're iframed, it's guaranteed to go up. So I use my iframe slash burst immediately because I know it'll iframe me for 5 seconds, so I could gain moonlight right away. So the position, you can see that I'm staying a little bit to the left of him. And I'm staying towards the middle. You never want to be in the corners. You want to stay within this like middle-ish zone around him, because you can constantly switch sides if he's pushing or not. And this right here, this is very important. I'm going to zoom in on this. This right here, you can see on my mouse, this web tip right here is the quote-unquote safe spot. Now, the reason why this is a safe spot is there's only one leg pattern that can hit you here. The red balls can't hit you here either, like these red balls that that spawn in like the pentagon pattern. It can't hit you here in that spot. And the legs, there's only one pattern of legs that hit you. So you want to alternate standing in this spot right here. You want to use the tip of this web as your indicator. So you want to stand right here, and obviously like this is a little bit towards the left, so he can push. This is a little bit towards the left, so he can push you this way. So you want to just like, you know, move a little bit to the right so he doesn't push you, and you want to just alternate this spot. So this is like your go-to spot always. So you can see that I'm constantly like trying to maneuver around this spot. If we were to set a priority list on what to dodge in phase 3, the number one most important thing to dodge is obviously white and yellow, because those one-shot you. But then after that, in terms of like attacks that you're going to be encountering like nonstop, is you want to dodge his push, because his push will completely mess up like your flow and push you into the webs and reverse Q, and it's super, super dangerous. So that's like step 1. Like dodge his pushes, so always like alternate sides so you can't get pushed. Step 2 is you want to dodge the red balls, and you know, if you're alternating this position, you can see I'm right here. This is the one leg pattern that can hit you in the safe spot. So you can see I'm like constantly like being in this area because I know things can't hit me. I got hit by a leg there because I wasn't perfectly in line. So there so that's step 2 is dodging the red balls. But if I'm in this position right here, I won't have to dodge the red balls anyways because they can't hit me. And then step 3 is dodging the step 3 is you can choose which one is easier for you. So these blue like heat-seeking balls, they're very easy to dodge on something like Hayato or a class that has dashes or flash jump, because you could just like pop them all. Like you see, I just dash through it and then I take no damage from them. But as a TP class, you don't really have any dashes or anything, so it's really, really hard to pop the balls. But as a TP class, it's easier to dodge the legs. So if you're a TP class, I would say step 3 is to dodge the legs. But if you're like a dashing class, I would say step 3 is to dodge the blue balls. And then step 4 is to dodge, you know, whatever else. So like for me on Hayato, step 4 would be dodge the legs. So like legs are my lowest priority. So like I don't mind getting hit by legs here as long as I'm dodging the other things that matter more. Like I'm dodging the red balls, I'm dodging all the pushes, I'm dodging the blue heat-seeking balls. Obviously you want to try to dodge the legs too, but if you do get hit by the legs, it's like the least punishment out of the other ones. The other ones punish you more, whether they take away from your moonlight or they deal even more damage to you. But if you're a TP class, like I said, it's hard to dodge the blue balls, so it's probably better to dodge the legs, because TP is a fixed movement. You can just TP from this safe spot back and forth, right? So I see it's white. The best time to use your moonlight is during white. So let's talk about like when you should use your moonlight. You should always use your moonlight as soon as you're able to. So as the gauge fills up, you want to use your moonlight immediately. The reason being is because if I were to have this much moonlight and then I get hit by a red ball, I go back under the threshold. And I won't be able to use moonlight again. But if I pop it right away, I have 5 seconds, I believe, to cleanse 2 webs. So it's not like I have to pop the moonlight when I'm already at the webs. I can pop the moonlight, dodge whatever I need to dodge, then go cleanse the webs and come back. So I see that I have enough here, right? I pop it just so that I can't lose it later. And then I dodge his attack, then I go cleanse, and then I come back. Right? Whereas if I stalled and I didn't use my moonlight before, I possibly could have gotten hit by other patterns and I wouldn't have been able to cleanse. So you should use your moonlight as soon as you have it. So like right now, if I was smart, I would see that I have this amount of moonlight right away and I would press it immediately and try to go cleanse. But I don't do that right away. I like delay it a little bit. Probably because I'm poisoned and I'm like trying to get more DPS uptime while I'm poisoned instead of going to cleanse in the middle of poisoned. Another really good time to cleanse is during white. So since during white and yellow he's iframed, you can't hit him at all. And during white you have to move anyways. This is the white attack. This is what I'm talking about. The white attack because his eyes are white. Since you have to move anyways, you might as well go cleanse as you're moving. So yeah, I was moving anyways, and then I press cleanse and I go back. And I go back to this position. You can see that since I'm perfectly aligned right here, even these 2 webs that are happening right here, I don't take any damage from them because I'm in the safe spot. So I'm constantly alternating that spot and going back and forth. Yellow, you know, you obviously like stay safe. I see that I have enough moonlight here, so I go and cleanse. I don't want to lose it later. So you want to constantly alternate between this position and back and forth. There was white that just happened, so I cleanse because, you know, it's a good time to cleanse during white. I get pushed here, which is pretty bad. You don't want to get pushed. You see how much time it wastes. Like, I'm not hitting him for a solid few seconds. I'm reverse keyed and everything. Push is, like, very dangerous. So I see it's white and I have enough moonlight, so I should go cleanse. I actually messed up here. I messed up pretty badly. I should have just pressed my moonlight right here just so I can use it, but I didn't press it for whatever reason. Maybe I thought I did, I don't know. But I end up dashing into the webs and I get hit by a red ball and it takes away from my moonlight, so I lose it. So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You want to use your moonlight as soon as you have it so that this doesn't happen to you, so that you don't get hit by a red ball and then you have to worry about getting more of it. You don't have to worry about gaining moonlight again. So I pop here as well just so I don't like insta die in the webs. But yeah, that was like a big mistake. Yeah, so this time, you know, I see that I have enough and I go and cleanse it. It's very important to try to optimize as much as you can during poison, just because you have a final damage bonus. I see that it was white and like you can go cleanse, but since I'm poison, I'm trying to do as much damage as I can. But I know that poison is like ending soon and I can't hit him anyways, he's untargetable, so I went to cleanse. I was in iframe there, so it was fine. So there's white happening and I'm moving, so I might as well go cleanse, right? And I'm cleansing as soon as I have enough moonlight. You never want to have like a full gauge, never, or even half. Like, you always want to just cleanse as soon as you have enough. That way you'll get off way more cleanses per run. Yeah, so since I'm like bind bursting right now, I don't actually go and cleanse immediately because I'm trying to optimize my damage. But yeah, I mean, this is just like a little hiato thing. So I knew that I was gonna pop my burst skill here, and my burst skill moves me forward. So before I pop it, I use my Moonlight, so because I know it's gonna dash me across the map. So I might as well burst and cleanse at the same time. So like I pop my Moonlight, then I pop my burst skill because I know it's gonna dash me over here, and I cleanse a couple webs as like my burst goes off anyways. So it's white, and I move white, and as I'm moving, I go and cleanse. Iframe just so I could get 3 seconds of free Moonlight gain. I take a lot of damage here, which is pretty bad. Like I would go cleanse here, like I'm trolling. So I guess I was waiting for white or something. But yeah, I see white is happening, so I press Moonlight and I go cleanse. Yep, go cleanse. You want to always make sure you're behind him. You don't want to get pushed. You want to stay moving. I have enough Moonlight immediately, so I go and cleanse. Yeah, so I have enough Moonlight and I go cleanse. But yeah, I mean that's basically it. That's basically Will. Like as long as you just stay behind him, as long as you stay behind him and you're using your Moonlight, only clear left side. It doesn't matter which ones you clear. The reason I'm clearing left side is because a big web spawns here, but it doesn't matter. But that's basically it. Like if you just constantly use your Moonlight as soon as it's up and play around this safe spot, you can probably clear. And you use that priority list. Like make sure you're dodging the push first, and then the red balls, and then the legs and blue balls after that. And that's how you do P3. And then a lot of it is just practice. Then you get used to it, and like it's all just peripheral vision. And then all you have to worry about is like push. But yeah, that's Will. Hopefully that helps you guys understand the boss. There's a lot that goes on to in this boss. I mean, it takes a lot of practice, but you could get it down. It's obviously it's much easier in a party P3 because everybody can cleanse webs. But yeah, soloing, it's one of the harder bosses to solo in the game.